It was always going to happen.
Hmm.
This was always going to happen. I mean, look, and I think this is almost like catharsis in a sense.
Is it?
Yes, I think this is catharsis because I think whenever you're on like a football thing and it is a football show, you can't totally go down one rabbit hole a lot more than other ones, man. You have to sort of, spread the love, spread the love. And I just think that there were just times when there's a lot of stuff we have off our chest in terms of Chelsea. And it is deep and it is complex, and we'll explain to you guys why it is complicated. Um, and yeah, man, here we are. Like, this
It's a
is,
spin-off. It's a spin-off show, is what
mm,
it is. It's a spin-off. It's like a different world to the Cosby Show, but with the same people.
yeah, we see, this is an offshoot
Yeah,
from
this
Soccer
is
Tactics.
NCIS Las Vegas or
But this
CSI Miami or I don't know.
but again, see, this is more raw, and this might be a bit more emotional because
This won't be monetized eventually. We'll
so
try to
yeah,
keep it PG. We will try to keep it PG, I guess. So, guys, welcome to the complicated Chelsea show. We didn't go with Chelsea podcast because obviously CCP has
shout out
some
to my Chinese brothers, man. What up, baby?
otherworldly
Xi
intentions
Jinping,
that
man, holding
might
it
or
down.
may not be what we want to.
Beef and black bean sauce, man.
Yeah. So, complicated Chelsea show. Plus, it's not a podcast, right? It's a
It's
YouTube
it's it's a
show.
show, man.
So I'm on camera all the time now. So
Finally revealing yourself, hiding away behind the voice, man. Show thyself.
yeah, man. So I think it's wise to start off with number one, and we kind of just got into it, but why are we doing this? So Half Hope got into the particulars in terms of we have the Talking Tactics podcast that we do every week. Drops every Tuesday. If you're on Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, if you're listening to any podcast apps, Overcast, Acast, whatever podcast app, type in Talking Tactics, and me and this guy will be talking about all football clubs, all leagues, Champions League, Europa League, whatever comes up. We talk about it all. But we've been doing that podcast for over 4 years now. And what tends to happen is we get to Chelsea and we stick there because we have ties to the club in some ways. So it's more, I don't know, pressing on our minds in
Mm.
some ways to talk about Chelsea. So we need to talk about Chelsea, and we have all the thoughts because I don't know. It's the club I watch the most, historically anyway. So, and I'm sure Have Hope is the same way if we don't bring internationals into it. So,
Mm.
yeah, this is as Have Hope said, it was an inevitability that this pops off eventually. So now, why is it called the Complicated Chelsea Show?
Yes, why isn't it called the complicated? Why can't it just be called
Okay,
the
no,
Chelsea
you know
show?
what? Okay, I think it would be wise if we give our origin stories here.
Yeah.
So have Hope, have Jeremiah Hope. Why are you a complicated Chelsea fan?
This is the best analogy I can use. True love. Your first true love. You know when you meet that girl and she's your first love at first sight. You get married. 3 amazing years of marriage. Sex is great. The conversation is great. You do everything together. You laugh together. You believe this is your soulmate, and you are obsessed with her, and she's obsessed with you. So you think you come down one night in your house, and you find her sleeping with someone else. It breaks your heart. It cuts your heart open, and you go for
John
a
Terry.
divorce. For John Terry, and you have a divorce, and even if you have a divorce because she broke your heart, she's still your first love. So whenever you see her, you still have those same butterflies within you. So as much as you hate her, you still remember that was your first love, and you remember those memories you had with her. But those memories are mixed in with what she did. So to connect it with this, to make it more understandable, you can ask guys who knew me when I was like a teenager. I was the most annoying, obsessive Chelsea fan ever, where people used to try to fight me because I was so obsessed with Chelsea. And however annoying you think I am now, and however much I may piss you off now, times that by 50 when I was a teenager, I was much worse. But as you grow and you see who John Terry is, and you see what the club fans are, and you see what the fans say on trains, what they say in stadiums, and you realize that now, not all, but a particular section of the Chelsea fans are racist and continue to be racist, and you learn of the history of the racism of them. As you grow older, as a black and everything, you're like, how do I reconcile and sort of connect with this? But at the same time, you remember how obsessed you were with them. So it's one of those things of like, even when I see Chelsea, I'm like, there's that thing of like, oh my gosh, I remember, because I'm from the days of Dennis Wise, Petrescu, Gus Poyet, Michael Dewberry, Ed De Hoy, back in those, basically autoclass, when these guys were losing to Bradford City with Dean Winder scoring a brace. So, but it's just, so that's why it's complicated, because it's like, once you are so invested in a club, it is impossible to completely sever ties. It's impossible. So one way or which way you will always be connected in some way, but that's where the complexity lies, bro.
So my my origin story is different because I didn't grow up with football in the same way that you did. So for me, when I was my first football memory was the '98 World Cup, concrete, and I was born in 1990, so I was 7 years old. But having access to Premier League games, La Liga games, Bundesliga games, Serie A games, it wasn't the same as you growing up in Nigeria or living in Switzerland or wherever it was. So the access wasn't the same. So the closest I could really get to it was one, international competitions, and two was video games. So I remember 2002. So this is like FIFA 2002. So this is like 2001. Obviously, you have my little ties. Like, I like France, whether it's Zidane or just I see a bunch of black players and I'm like, oh, they're good. Like, yeah, like that's me. Whether I'm looking at Thierry Henry or Trezeguet or like just whoever it is. But picking a club, I didn't have a club until I was like 11. And my dad brought home FIFA 12 with Thierry Henry, FIFA 2002 with Thierry Henry on the cover. And it was like Road to the World Cup. So most of the time I was playing just like Play Now, and I was playing, France against England, France against Germany, like all those types of games. But then I was like, so there's this whole league side that I'm not really into yet. So 11-year-old Daniel clicks. I'm playing on PC, by the way, not even like PlayStation. So he buys me the game, and I start getting into the game, not just like Play Now internationals. So I click, I don't know, season mode or whatever it is, and I'm just looking for a club. I don't know who to pick. So I go to England. In my brain, I speak English, so we're going England. But then there's this part of me that I don't support any team that wears red. So if you see this hat that I have on right now, that's the North Carolina Tar Heels, right? This is my first love. So your first love is Chelsea. This is my first love. Like from when I was 5, 6, in the driveway, I'm Vince Carter, I'm Rasheed Wallace, I'm Antoine Jamison, I'm Ed Cota. It doesn't matter who, right? But this is my first love. So there's a thing that I don't support any team that wears red because of NC State. So like bitter rivals. Another bitter rival that's interesting, and we'll get into it, is Duke, who wear a similar shade of Carolina blue. But I'm not supporting any team in red. So that automatically takes off Liverpool, that takes off Manchester United, and that takes off Arsenal. So I'm never going to pick them to be my club because they wear red. I think that season, 2001, 2002, Manchester City weren't in the game. And if they were, well, they weren't in the Premier League, I don't think. And if they were very poorly rated. So the best team in blue that I could have picked was Chelsea, Everton, maybe Spurs. So obviously the best rated team was Chelsea. So I picked Chelsea. I didn't know what I was doing. I was 11 years old, but I was just like, okay, Chelsea's my team. And it's a name of a club that isn't like linked to a city. You know how you have like Manchester United, Manchester this, Liverpool. Like like Arsenal, Chelsea. Like I like those kinds of teams that aren't linked necessarily to a place. So I pick them, and we have Zola, Desai, like all of those old school players. I think that John Terry was just getting into the team. Lampard, that might have been his first season with the club.
No, but there is a place called Chelsea. You said not linked to a place.
I know, but it's not like it's not called London.
Okay.
It's called it's a thing in and of itself. Obviously, there's a place in London called Chelsea, Hammersmith, Chelsea, Fulham, whatever it is. But it's not London FC or something like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just started playing with them. Zola, Hasselbank, Tor Andre Flo. Like I was getting accustomed to the team, but obviously I can't watch it on television. Then the internet starts to become a thing. So if everybody remembers like dial-up internet and all that kind of stuff, there's no way you're streaming games on dial-up internet. But what you can do is like keep up with scores on like you remember Soccer Net? Yeah. So that was ESPN FC before ESPN FC. And then one really cool thing happened was I remember begging my parents, can we get Fox Soccer Channel? Can we get Setanta Sport? And this was like when satellite television became a thing, not just like antenna or cable, but like you could actually put a satellite on top of your house and you could get broadcasts from all over the world. So I remember, can we get this? Can we get that? Can we get this? Can we get that? And I'd say around like 2004, 2005, it's obviously like a fortunate time for the club. But I would definitely say 3, 4, 5, somewhere in there. Like I was able to get my parents. I was washing dishes, mowing lawns. I was doing a whole bunch of stuff so they could pay for this subscription, which was pretty expensive. But obviously they were taking advantage of it in their own way, being immigrants themselves. So yeah, that's when I was able to watch like Chelsea TV. They would show reruns of Chelsea games and Manchester United games on, I think it was Fox Soccer Channel. So this was like when Mourinho first showed up, and that's like the Drogba, Terry, Cech, Lampard, Carvalho, Duff, Robin. I know, man. Fox Soccer Channel was amazing, man. At least as a kid, anyway. So I'm like 13, 14, and that's when I would say like my Chelsea, I don't know, fanship started, where I was like, it was in my heart at that point. Exactly.
Dial-up, man. Those days, man.
AOL used to send discs with like however many hours of free internet. I don't know what I was up to, but that's what I was.
It's like, how did we actually survive in the dial-up age, man?
Bro, you would be like, I don't know, playing a game like miniclip.com. Anybody remember Miniclip? You'd be on Miniclip, and then like the phone would ring, or your parents needed, like, especially my dad, I need to call Uganda. So then he has to get on the phone. I have to get off the internet, like, because you can't use the internet and have the phone at the same time.
Even to go on the website, because I remember I remember when SoccerNet launched, and I actually remember when the guy sold it to ESPN. So I remember SoccerNet before ESPN, and to even go there, literally that
it took 3 days.
Just go do.
So yeah, this is it's like the international origin story, I would say. I'm sure a lot of people start with video games and internet and things like that. But yeah, that's why I would say like my Chelsea fanship came into real existence. There was a time, and I will admit this, where I thought about changing to become an Arsenal fan because of Thierry Henry. But again, that red thing kicked in. I was like, you can't switch clubs. Like I haven't switched from North Carolina during the bad times. I'm not going to switch from Chelsea ever. But there was like a flash. When they had Thierry Henry and like, I don't know, just a bunch of black players where you were just like, yo, man, I mean, it does kind of look like it's worth switching. But no, it never came to fruition. What makes me complicated though is because I was picking my club without knowing who the fans of the club were. I came into it like naive almost. Like who the fans are doesn't matter, because this is just my story with this thing from across the ocean. I don't need to worry about what's going on in London, England. I'm just me. I'm just doing my own thing. Like I don't need to worry about Johnny and what's his face who actually go to Stamford Bridge and do XYZ. That doesn't have any effect on me. At least that's what I thought. But then we start getting into, 2008, 2009, 2010, 11, 12, I would say, it's pretty strong. They win the Champions League. Everything's kind of good. But there are these instances that just happen all the way through. So maybe it starts with, John Terry and Antoine Ferdinand, Rio Ferdinand's brother. Even before that, the whole adultery thing and just like little instances that come up, like this is the club captain and you guys are backing him. Like no matter what, he can do no wrong. He can be racist. He can cheat on his wife. He can commit adultery. And there's just, captain, leader, legend. And for me, maybe not growing up in London or having that attachment to the club, I can come at it with a more
objective,
what the fuck are you guys doing mentality. Kind of like the same way where people in Liverpool would back Luis Suarez when he said Negrito to Patrice Evra.
Yeah.
If you're in Liverpool, it's like, yeah, this is our guy. He's our striker. He's this, he's that.
But basically tribal, very, very tribal.
But somebody from the outside would be like, do I really want to be attached to a club that will wear a shirt of Luis Suarez when he was just accused of racially abusing a black guy? No, not really. What really took it over the edge was, and at this point I've become a quasi-professional football writer. I'm writing for Bleacher Report week in, week out. They're giving me some money for it. Everything's good. And I think this was 2014. And my job is essentially to write about Chelsea Football Club. And the Paris incident happened. And, we're racist. That's the way we like it. We like it. Like, you watch the video and you're like, at this point, I'm like on the edge. Like, I don't really want to be associated with this in the same way. But then they do something else. And it's like, well, I know it's not fair to paint everybody with the same brush. But now that, there's Twitter, there's social media, me and you can interact. Like, there's people that I can talk to and interact with on a level that live there. And you'll tell people I'm a Chelsea fan. And people give you this little smirk, like if they live in England, like especially if they're black, like a black Chelsea fan. Like, and when you start doing your history about, Paul Cannaville and how he was the first black Chelsea player in like the mid 80s, and he would score a goal, Chelsea would win the game 2-1, and people in Stamford Bridge would say, "Oh no, we drew 1-1 because goals by black players don't count." Or things like that. Once you start to hear the history of Chelsea Football Club, it's like, well, these guys are always listed. It's Chelsea, it's West Ham, it's Millwall, Leeds to an extent. Like, there are these clubs that are just known to be racist or to have racist elements that make up the core of the club. And when I saw that Paris train incident, I was like, well, damn, like you kind of have to make a choice. Do you ignore that and kind of like stick with this childhood thing that you had? Or do you come into reality as a full adult now and make a conscious decision knowing all the facts that are on the table? And it was at that point where I remember I went to my editor and I was like, can I just be a general football writer? I don't want to really write about Chelsea all the time. Plus I was getting sick of just writing articles and articles about Chelsea. And he was like, yeah, you can do it. So every week I was having to write about, Liverpool this day, Arsenal the next, Spurs, Dortmund, Porto. I was just bouncing all around Europe, and that really gave me a sense of, this is way longer than yours, by the way, but
yeah, it's like,
but no, it's the first episode, so I'm filibustering in a way, but yeah, it gave me a sense of like what I fell in love with wasn't really Chelsea, it was football. Like, I'm a football fan before anything, so I can be critical of the club. I can not like what the manager's up to. I don't have to just fall hook, line, and sinker with everything that comes out of the club or agree with everything that the fans say. I can make my own opinion, and if it goes against the grain of what general people think, who cares? I'll say it. If I can say, yo, it's fucked up that somebody would call Sterling a black cunt, and you're like, oh, no, everybody does it, everybody. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to be involved with you. So
no, you have to draw a line.
Yeah, that
in the sand.
My evolution as it. Oh, if I have one more sentence.
Yeah.
So I would just say my evolution as a person and a human being hasn't coincided with what I've learned about Chelsea, and that has made me complicated. So that's my story.
Yeah. So basically, just jumping off the point, and I think this is the key thing. I say to people that I was a football fan before anything. You see, like in Nigeria, when I was young, I didn't understand what supporting a club meant. So I liked Chelsea when I was in Nigeria, but supporting a club wasn't really a thing in school. It was only when I moved to England that everybody supported a club that was like, oh, so okay, well, this is a team that is fully known as in Nigeria. Okay, so therefore I support Chelsea. But my introduction into football wasn't a team. It was Nigeria at the World Cup. It was Ajax winning the Champions League. It was watching Romario in the '94 World Cup, watching Baggio, watching Baggio. So it was me falling in love with the game, falling in love with certain players, and so forth. So for me, I have never really understood the kind of tribal nature of football, where like, no, you have to defend. You always have to look for an excuse to defend the team. I'm like, no. All that matters is the footballing truth. You know, it's like, if this is bad, this is bad. If they're crap, they are crap. So that is where I sort of come at odds with certain fans, is that I think they feel a need to be tribal and to be, it's us against them. And if we do anything bad, let's try and think of whatever excuse we can, because I think a lot of people, because it's like a human psychological thing. It's some people need to belong, and there's a wanting for them to belong to something, and almost becoming a fan is more than just a football thing. It's more it's like a psychological satisfaction thing of, I'm part of someone. I'm part of a collective.
Right. So oh, go ahead. No, I was going to say something along the lines of, and I don't think it's just a Chelsea thing. I think this is a football thing in general.
It's a football thing.
Where, I picked my club because they were blue. I'll keep it level. Like, it's childish.
Do you know how weird that is? Because you see, two reasons why I went with Chelsea. One was, when I was young, blue was my favorite color, and like because basically I'm the youngest in my family, and the nickname that everybody gave to me in my family was Blue Dog, because I was just, I don't know why dog, but they just called me Blue Dog. That was just like my nickname because I loved blue. I'm Zola. So okay. Zola was like one of my first favorite players that I liked.
In high school, people called me Blueberry for whatever stupid reason, because I always wore blue. So
but look, let's say, look, that is
but yeah, but it's the idea that I was gonna say I picked my club because it was blue, not because I thought that one day they would be like European champions, or they were winning Premier Leagues, which they weren't at the time. I just picked them because I was a kid on FIFA and that was the club I picked. I think though I was just kind of old enough to make that decision before they started winning things, And even if they were winning things, I don't know if I would have been conscious, but I think more people who are younger than us, and some people who are older than us, that's why you see a lot of Manchester United fans or Liverpool fans or whatever the case may be, they pick the club not because it's their favorite color or there was some, I don't know, trivial reason. It's they want to be attached to something which gives them joy. Like, you might have, I don't know, a bad
Glory
life. You might have a bad life, or you might just come from a place that just breeds hardship, and you want something that can alleviate that. That's why you see a lot of LA Laker fans, or a lot of Dallas Cowboy fans, New York Yankees, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Manchester United, Liverpool, Arsenal when they were invincible. Like, I think that feeds into it, that you want to attach yourself in some ways, especially if you don't have a choice, like if you aren't born into it. If you have the freedom to pick, why would I pick a loser? That doesn't make sense. It's gonna hurt my life. So why not pick something that's enjoyable? And from that, you kind of get these. I wouldn't say it's a bad thing, because I think it's just a human condition. But you do find a lot of people who, if you criticize the thing that gives me joy, I'm gonna come at you with as much energy as I feel like you're giving this thing that I love. Because this thing that I love is kind of giving me life. Like, we're trading with each other.
Which is why it's almost, there are two different kinds of fanship. Like, there is that kind of tribal fanship of where, this is deeper than just football. This is about being part of this concept, this club. And there's another fanship where, I follow this club, but it's from a football perspective purely. Right. So where it's like, no, this is just bad football. This is good football. This is bad football. So I'm going to call it out.
So also, I think I have to point out that, like, my journalistic or English background does kind of play into my want to be does kind of play in my want to be at least objective to some way. Like, you never want to steer too far or veer too far into just like out and out fanship, because it doesn't come off nice. So that's another piece of the puzzle, I would say. But in terms of this being, this podcast or YouTube show, whatever you want to call it, I don't see it always being negative. You know,
No.
like that there will be like moments where we'll come out and we'll say good things,
real.
but the my point is, a lot of the times you criticize things because you like it. So, you know, you wouldn't go if you go to a doctor and you have a headache, right? And the doctor tells you, yo, you have a headache, you need to do this, you need to do that. You're having a headache because you're looking at your phone too much. There's a whole bunch of things that you're doing wrong that are giving you this headache. You might want to chill out. Here's some medicine to take. You don't get mad at the doctor for telling you what you're doing and the things that are going wrong. You say, thank you, doctor, for enlightening me on what I'm doing that's giving me this problem.
But basically, it's like this. It's like there are two reactions that people have when people, and let me use the Nigeria example with Kelechi from AFTV. Yeah.
Well, I don't know him, but I know of him.
Yeah, you know of him. It's just like, for me, because I care so much about Nigeria, the football team, being from Nigeria, growing up in Nigeria, when they do badly, I am very passionate in my critique. And I will call out that, no, this is crap, because I want them to do well. I am extra harsh with the critique to ensure that they do better. But for other people, they will view that critique as just going against the team. Whereas they're like, no. They tried. They did better. You should encourage them. You should support them. And it's like, no. It's like the only way you can get better is like, bro, you were crap. You did bad. So then, because if I go to someone and say, oh, no, it's fine. How is that guy going to get better?
It's like that with everything. Like if your child has bad grades, if they have Fs, you don't say, hey, man, you tried, you did good. It's like, no, man, you better get those grades up, man. You need to study. You need to raise your hand in class, go to tutoring. Like you need to do X, Y, Z. If you want to take it serious, if you're bad at giving, like, I don't know, oral sex or something like that to your girl, you don't want your girl to be like, oh, nah, it's great, everything's cool. No, you want to be like, hey, yo, you need to do this, you need to hit that spot, you need to do this. If you're bad at driving, if you're in the car and somebody's just veering all left and crazy, like, do you just sit in the car like, yo, that's my mom, I shouldn't say anything? It's like, yo, mom, like, pay attention to the road.
You have to call it out.
It's like with everything in life, if something is going wrong, you want to be told that it needs to be done better. That's not to say that everything has to be critical, or there aren't ways to say it that won't make it come off, evil or something like that. It's not that. It's just that I do care kind of if Chelsea wins. If they lose, it doesn't affect me as much as maybe other people. But I'm not going to let some loyalty affect my common sense to a point where I'm just overly laudatory and just, I don't know, just saying the platitudes and the things that you're supposed to say as a fan. Oh, you're not a real fan. Fine, but I'm not lying.
No. All that's for me, all I care about in life, in any aspect, is the truth. And there is always a truth. And for me, in anything, whether it's this, that, or whatever, in whatever aspect in life, there is always a truth. Whether you want to accept the truth or not, that's your issue. But there is a truth. So you can now choose to either accept the truth or not. And so what is going to be the core of this show is we're going to be giving you truths, because there's a lot of crap that's out there. And I'm going to bring some stuff up with some of the issues I've had with some people, because it's time to address some certain things, because I think this show is unique. It is unique in a sense that this might be the first of its kind in terms of, which is why it's called Complicated Chelsea, because these are so-called Chelsea fans who are going to tell you things that no other fan channel will say, because every other fan channel has a need to be supportive in the hope of creating ties with the club.
I don't give a damn.
We don't want any ties.
Roman, I don't care. Marina, I don't care. Frank, I don't care. If they watch this, I hope they do.
Mourinho, I do care. Actually, if Mourinho can give us a double, actually, I do care about Mourinho. But see, the key is that this isn't. We don't want to create this in a sense. We want to hopefully get some interviews from Werner, from Lampard. No. This is just about truth. So, and it's about telling you, no, this is what is right with Chelsea. This is what is going well with Chelsea. This is what is going wrong. This is what needs to be improved. And these are just facts that you just have to accept.
Okay, so we're half an hour in. So I think that's a good introductory piece. So Where are we starting?
Should we address Lampard? Just look at this Lampard as a manager. Should we start there?
Okay, fine. I didn't want Frank Lampard as Chelsea manager.
Why?
And the reason I didn't want Frank Lampard as Chelsea manager is because I've known this guy since I was 11, okay? And he's been one of my favorite players. I've debated in arguments who's better, Gerrard, Lampard, Scholes. I've been in all the arguments. I've seen all the points, all the debates. I always back Lampard. He scores more goals, blah, blah, blah. So he's one of my favorites in terms of players that have come through Chelsea, in terms of what they do on the pitch. There are political things that maybe we could argue with him about, but we won't get into that for now. I didn't want to see him sacked, and I knew that the situation that he came into last season was difficult. No transfer window, Hazard's gone. You're going to have to bleed in a bunch of new players and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, I don't know if he's the right guy for the job. And credit to him in a sense that he did just enough in a horrible Premier League to get 4th place. So congratulations, you got Champions League football. At the end of the day, though, it's the worst team that's ever qualified points-wise for the Premier League in the last 15 years. So it's not like he did some fantastic thing that in some other season would have
give him the dub. Like, it's still a great success, despite.
It's like a half a W. It's like a V. I'll give him a V.
No. I mean, like, look, yeah, it's like it's twofold.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're right.
Is everything twofold? Like all of your points have two.
No. Sorry, it's not twofold. It's like a plus and a minus. So you're right in the sense of. No. Let me go first with the positive. You lost Hazard. You are still a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly a young team.
Mm-hmm.
And really, this especially with the loss of Hazard and you with a lack of experience, it was commendable, your finish. But let's look at the flip side, which is what you bring up. 50 goals conceded. I think the most goals conceded, like in the top 6 or so forth. And it was a pretty bad league in terms from third downwards.
Bad. I remember we talked about this on the podcast, that there have been, I think, 62 teams to play in the Champions League from England over the last 15 years. One of them qualified, or two of them, Manchester United won the Europa League and Chelsea won the Premier League. But the other 60, of those 60, this is the worst that has qualified by points. The next worst, I think, was Manchester United also last year. So it's not like Frank Lampard did something spectacular. It's like you got the objective done, but it wasn't a hard objective to meet given what the league was. But even still, I will give you your slight credit. Like I said, it's not a W, it's a V. Like it's half a W. But I don't want to see Frank Lampard sacked. That was another part of it. Because I'm like, you're putting him into a bad situation that, if history has shown us anything, it's that Abramovich is no respecter of anybody. He will sack you if he needs to.
Yeah, I mean, like...
And if you choose to hire Frank Lampard...
But really, though, no. Let's chill on that point. Because let's just look at both sides of that point. Because I do believe that he's ruthless. That's why I love him so much. He'll sack anybody. Do you believe that Abramovich may feel more... Because look, he's a football fan. He loves the club and he loves football. Do you think that he may feel closer to a Lampard and the players than he did with a Mourinho? That with the manager, it's a bit more detached. With the players, these are the guys on the pitch that really went out and did that. And Lampard, what's it called, against Bolton? He was the guy that scored the 2 goals that gave Chelsea like their first, that gave Chelsea the Premier League win. So do you think that maybe because he may feel closer with the players and closer to a Lampard, he may be more lenient? I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Mourinho was 16th, I think, when he got sacked in 2015. If Lampard was 15th, you really think, he scored 2 goals against Bolton and he was captain in the Champions League final? You really think that's going to matter? I don't think so. I don't think it runs that deep. I think a business is a business. And if you have a guy who's not fit and he runs it into the ground, he'll get sacked. Thankfully, Lampard hasn't been that bad yet. So, he gets credit, and I'm just giving you what I thought when he was hired. So, what he's been since, I guess it's a little bit different. But these were just my thoughts that I still hold. It's just that I don't want to see Frank Lampard get sacked because that would hurt me because I like him. I don't want him hired under adverse circumstances.
Let me ask you this then. But again, 100%, because again, I agree with that. It's like, it is a mistake that many people make. Oh my gosh, this is a club legend, a guy who is so special with the club. Let's hire him. Let's see what he can do. And more times than not, it has not boded well. Let's look at Maradona, an icon, a legend for Argentina, struggled to qualify for that World Cup, and Germany gave them that 4th flex at the World Cup.
I was gonna say, do we mention the Germany game where he was like trying unnecessary stuff where it was like one person in midfield?
Yeah, so because my thing is that you could say, oh, what if Lampard, because he's a club legend,
pause. Is it fair to compare Lampard to somebody who we know is a notorious cocaine user?
Why do people use cocaine as like a detrimental thing for Maradona? That adds to his greatness. He won 2 Serie A titles while being high on coke. That's amazing.
I don't know what to say to that because playing might actually work on coke. What cocaine does to your mind in terms of the cognitive functions that you need to be a football manager after you've been doing it for 40 or 50 years, that's a different conversation. So, yeah, maybe player Maradona can do cocaine and it's okay. Manager Maradona, after you've been doing cocaine for 35 years, I don't know if I want you. That's all I'm saying. So maybe that's unfair to Lampard to compare him to a cocaine user.
But the comparison is in a sense of a guy who means so much to this team coming in to manage them, and because of their affinity to the team,
right?
Which is why I see this is why it doesn't really make sense to me, and which is why I make it make sense. What does Lampard being a legend for Chelsea as a player have to do with him being successful as a manager?
It's trendy.
For Chelsea?
It was the trendy thing to do. You see, Pep had success with Barca, fine. You see, Zidane has success with Madrid, fine. And now it's just become a thing people want to do. Oli with United, Lampard.
Juventus.
Yeah, I was going to get there. That was going to be my third thing. But yeah, it's the trendy thing to do to hire a legend at this point. So, if Fleck left Bayern Munich, you'd be surprised if they hired Lahm. I wouldn't. Yeah, it would be a thing. Like, I don't know if PSG have any legends like that.
No, they don't.
My parents are older than the club, so I don't know. Do you bring? David Beckham played 14 games for PSG, and he's in their Hall of Fame. 14. And he makes their Ring of Honor
because it's David Beckham.
Yeah, but I'm just saying. I'm just going through. Lampard was the trendy thing to do, and we can see Pirlo's perfect because Sarri was there. They let him go for Lampard at Juventus. Sarri was there. They let him go for Pirlo. Even though Maurizio Sarri really didn't do anything wrong. He won the league. He won the Europa League. He qualified for Champions League. He did everything he needed to do except win the Champions League with Juventus, which they haven't done in almost 20 years probably. And he still got sacked for a legend. So it's just blame Zidane if you want, because he did win 3 Champions Leagues and 2 La Ligas in his tenure so far. So I guess people are like, look, we need to – who is our Zidane? And for Chelsea, your Zidane is Frank Lampard. No, but so hire him and see what happens.
But my thing, though, is...
forgetting that Zidane had arguably the greatest club side in terms of collection of players that has ever existed. Lampard doesn't have that.
No, I don't know. See, the whole Zidane thing, I don't like how people say, oh, because you had the best team. They were not necessarily the best team. They were one of the best teams, but Zidane gave him his job for his coaching. Because you're not telling me that if there was another coach, they would still win. But look, I digress. Let's just Lampard. Thing about Lampard is this. my thing was, is this the mistake that people make? And it's how people allow sentiments to cloud them. You see, for me, playing and management are two completely different things, and they don't mix. It's two totally different disciplines. Very few amazing players have made amazing managers. I can only think of Cruyff.
Pep.
Pep wasn't an amazing player. He was a
I
pretty good
thought you
player.
meant player that was an amazing coach. I heard you wrong.
Oh no, sorry. An amazing player who becomes an
Who
amazing coach.
also an amazing coach? Beckenbauer?
Yeah, basically Beckenbauer, Cruyff. I don't know whether the live chats can say anything. I don't know which other ones there are. Like,
Do we count? I don't know. Hullet? No.
Gullit wasn't an amazing manager. He
Yeah,
was an amazing
yeah.
player.
I know
He was
that.
an
That's what I'm
amazing
saying. He
manager.
was more a player. Rijkaard. Exactly. It's like,
It's like yeah. I mean, like he was a pretty good player, but was he an amazing player? An amazing. So really, it's very
it's two. It's like the two for sure. Two concretely.
yeah. Beckenbauer. So my thing is that the two things, and the issue that people make is that he's a Chelsea legend. We love him so much. He has to succeed, and we believe he can succeed because do you know what? It's the perfect story, and people love the perfect story.
It's a nice bow. It's a great bow.
No, let me see. It's like a film. We love the happy ending. I mean, like the perfect story. The perfect story is Lampard, legend for the club, was instrumental in the club's first major win, broke the goal scoring record for a midfielder. He now becomes the manager, and now becomes successful as a manager. It's the perfect thing.
Do you know when you're watching a biography, and like they have the first history part, and like you finish the movie, and then there's like a montage with words at the end.
Yeah.
So the Frank Lampard thing, it probably ends with him scoring the goals against Aston Villa to be the club's all-time leading scorer. He then went to Manchester City. He then came back to Chelsea as manager and won the Premier League Cut Academy Award. It would be the great ending. But
you see,
football doesn't work like that.
You see, this isn't even the same as Guardiola. Because yes, Guardiola is from Catalonia, he's a Barcelona boy and everything, ball boy and everything. But he didn't have the same kind of impact as a player for Barcelona than Lampard did. So the story
I can't speak to that. I don't know.
No. Look, I know for a fact. But like he wasn't Cruyff's best. No, Cruyff loved him. He wasn't Cruyff because I remember Pep Guardiola very well when he played. He was a decent. Basically, he was very similar to Busquets in how he played. They had very similar styles, but he wasn't Barcelona's best player. He wasn't Barcelona's main guy. It was I think he was during the time of Romario, I believe. So, but Lampard was 100% one of Chelsea's best and most important players, and it was critical. See, Guardiola wasn't critical to Barcelona. Lampard was critical to Chelsea. So Lampard succeeding as a manager is literally like the perfect Chelsea story.
The only one that would be more perfect for Chelsea would be John Terry.
Oh yeah.
Captain Leader legend comes back as manager. Like that's even more perfect. But
you see, the Zidane one is also pretty perfect already because it's like he was part of your Galacticos. He scored that amazing Champions League winning goal, and he comes back as manager and gives you 3 Champions League titles. See, whatever happens, that's already a perfect story. So my thing is that people's love for Lampard as
it's clouding their judgment.
It's clouding their judgment to critique him objectively as a manager, and people need to separate the player and focus on how are you doing as a manager and are you doing the best thing for this club to get them the results. Because my thing is that was Sarri afforded the same kind of excuses as Lampard is? Because I remember
the crowd with Sarri was saying fuck Sarri ball with the man in the stadium. They were chanting fuck Sarri ball, like all that shit. With the man in the stadium, like he has a family, a wife, like all that. Just fuck him, like
and he hadn't failed yet. He was still in the season.
He finished third and won the Europa League. Like now, obviously, you could say he had Eden Hazard, who was balling. So there is that little caveat. But at the end of the day, he reached the objectives. What happened with Sarri is the expectations of what he was doing with Napoli were so high that when he didn't meet the high expectations of having that sexy Napoli football that we saw from 2017-18 season, people were just like, fuck him. It's not what it is. So forget him. But Lampard, because he had the transfer window or the transfer ban, no Hazard, all of the things that happened with the club, his expectations were just like, if you can get top 4, you've done a miracle on par with Jesus turning water into wine and healing leprosy. Like you've done it. Like you've done everything you need to do. So it's the expectations. I always say expectation is the root of all heartache. I don't say that. I think it was it's a misquote from Shakespeare. I don't know who actually said it, but expectation is the root of all heartache. If you expect a lot and you don't get it, you feel bad. If you expect a little bit and you get more than what you expected, you feel great. And that's kind of Lampard's in that kind of Goldilocks zone, if you will, where it's been easy for him, basically, if you take into account the kind of decline or parity that's happened in the Premier League and the situations that are outside of his kind of control. It was perfect for him in a sense. But I do think now that you're here, now that you have the expectation, like the club spent however much money, now you're actually being tested, because the expectations now are actually, okay, we want you to maybe not win the league, but there needs to be a title challenge. We spent, I'm using in terms of, I'm thinking as like the Marinas or the Romans or just general Chelsea fans. We spent 200 plus million on Ziyech, Werner, Havertz, Chilwell, Mendy. Silva came in for a free. Sarr came in for a free. Obviously, he was loaned out. Yeah, like these are the players that you said you needed. You didn't have the goal scorer. We got you that one. You needed some more in midfield. We got you that one. You needed a creator. We got you that one. Everybody knows you need a left back if you have Alonso and Emerson. We got you the left back. Chilwell's actually been looking pretty good, by the way.
Alonso is one of the worst players of all time. Please, Alonso is one of the worst players of all time. Please.
That's key. Is Chilwell good, or are we just used to watching Alonso and Emerson?
Bro,
I think it's like 50-50. I actually think he is decent, but you've been watching trashness for 4 or 5 seasons. So
let's keep it all the way real. Chilwell isn't a great left back. He's decent. He's pretty good. Alonso was so horrendous that Chilwell looks like flipping, my gosh, Roberto Carlos or Zanetti. He looks like peak Javier Zanetti, because you're going when
he looks like Ashley Cole. He looks like Ashley Cole.
When you go from the bottom of the pit, the bottom of the barrel, the soil looks great. The tarmac looks great because you were living at the bottom of the barrel, like down to the core of the earth. So,
hey man, if when you're homeless, any apartment is better than homelessness, I would say. All right. So, yeah, there are these little things that have just been. I don't want to see Lampard sacked, and to an extent, I was thinking the club set him up for failure, but that hasn't been the case. So I can give the club credit in that sense, where I think they have surrounded him with enough to where he can reach the objectives. My only issue becomes, just because we give you the resources, or we can do it this way. If you give an architect, or not an architect, more like a builder, if you give him the requisite materials to build a building, you've done your part in that sense. It's now up to the builder to build the building with the proper materials that you've given them. And now we're seeing, is Lampard a capable builder? Like, do you want this guy to build your building?
No, because see, that's my thing, because I am tired of, well, he didn't have this. Well, you now have everything to you. So there are no excuses now. Now we can now fully judge you as manager, but even still now, people are like, oh, well, they didn't have a proper preseason. Oh, they need time to gel. Oh, they need chemistry. No. We're done with the excuses. The excuses for last season, it's made sense because you got into a tough situation. You didn't have Eden Hazard, and you did well to come forth. Now you have new players coming in and everything. I don't want to hear a thing of, if Chelsea come fifth with no trophies, well, they need a season to grow. Well, they need to gel together. Like, no. You have to now make it work for this. This is what top tier football is about. See, it now goes back to the whole thing of, because he's a legend and I'm so close to him, it's like your best friend. you will always try to defend your best friend. Sarri is a stranger. I don't know Sarri. Who is this guy? You just got here. But Lampard, I know this guy. This is my best friend, and I will always use things to defend my best friend. Or like, this woman is my wife, or is someone who I like. I will do and love will blind me. The love I have with them will blind me, and I will figure out so many different ways and do every single kind of mental gymnastics to try and think of an excuse of why all of their shortcomings. But we have to be fair here, because let's play in the scenario, end of the season, Chelsea come fourth, they don't win any trophies, Champions League, last 16 or quarterfinals. Is that a success or a failure for Lampard?
I think most Chelsea fans would call that a success, but only so they wouldn't have to criticize Lampard. They would say, "Oh no, it's just part of the process, the building season. The Premier League was better, or whatever excuse you want to say. We've maintained our place. We got Champions League football. Let's see where it goes next season." I think personally, I wouldn't consider that a success, but I can see how it would be spinned into a success.
But I'm asking you, I'm not asking Chelsea fans, I'm asking Danny Tito to my right, man.
Yeah, I just said no. I don't think it would be a success.
Yeah, no, look, for me, it's the amount of talent you have and the players you have. Fourth with no trophy. You can't call that a success, because see, now this is the danger now here is that I keep hearing this word process. It's a process. It's a process. You need years and years. Does Abramovich know how to spell process? Or does he even know what process even means?
What was Arteta's process? Did he need like months and months to get them better from Emery? I mean, people keep saying, "Oh no, you got to be patient. You got to trust the process. You got to do this. You got to do that." Arteta came in, and like that, Arsenal looked like a completely different team, like they did under Unai Emery. So his process took 2-3 months. We need to give Lampard 18 months, 19 months, 20 months.
And can I go forward?
And he had a better team to start with.
Can I go? No. You stole my points right there. We can make the arguments, man for man. Arsenal's team is worse than Chelsea's team. Man for man, that is an inferior team. So it is clear as day that Arteta is a better manager than Lampard, because he literally had no managerial experience, because he was only the second to Pep, and he's coming with an inferior team with only one man who is a great goal scorer in Aubameyang, with a defense that was horrible under Emery. Because remember, think about this. Arteta took over a horrible team under Emery, hence why they had to sack him. Sarri, he left you with third place and a Europa League win. I get it. They had Hazard. But the team was still in a very good state, and they were still pretty good defensively. So, Lampard, you have a superior team. And Arteta, in a short space of time, has given them 2 trophies already. So, I cannot... The excuses goes back to, hey, it's Lampard. But if we're being objective and we're being real, the players are there. The talent is there. Now we're now judging your management. The chemistry of the team, the cohesiveness of the team, because we know Timo Werner can score goals. We know Ziyech knows how to play. We know Kai Havertz is a good player. We know what, and we'll get to Kante maybe. We know what these guys can do. And let's talk about the defense. Is it really just individual mistakes? Or is it Lampard's defensive coaching? Because let's talk football. Yes, there have been individual mistakes and everything. Individual mistakes can't lead to 50-something goals conceded. That's impossible. That as a footballing deduction makes no logical sense. It has to be, what are you learning on the training ground? Is it zonal, man-to-man? What is the defensive structure? Because see, the individual is just one man. Their reliance on what the blueprints is for them as a unit. And that blueprint comes from the coach. This is how you guys are going to, because the coach and the manager, they see the thing from the bird's eye view. They see the blueprint. The player, I'm just one entity on the pitch. So I'm reliant on our instructions for what to do because you can see what we can see. So you have to look at what is Lampard doing wrong defensively that makes these guys make mistakes and continue to concede goals. I think it's a case of you keep on changing the personnel, so therefore there's a lack of communication. And in a defense, it is imperative you have consistent communication. And also, if you're a very attacking team, there must be precise, clear instructions with regards to the press and putting guys in key positions to intercept, which is why we link it to the whole Kante thing. Kante, who we know is incredible at reading the game and intercepting, is he being used properly, knowing that you're a very ultra-attacking team and you want to attack, meaning that you're going to be light defensively based on how offensive you are?
I wrote down, because you mentioned Arteta, something about like he didn't have any experience. Lampard had one season at Derby County. Arteta was Pep's number 2 for how long?
I think a season.
Really? It wasn't at least 2? Because he was there during the documentary season. And maybe he was there before, but I'm not sure. But at least a year and a half of being like somebody's number 2. Lampard was never a number 2. He just was given the Derby job
By Harry Redknapp, because
and he was learning on the job in some ways, and to an extent he's still learning on the job.
No, because I actually read the thing. So basically, Harry Redknapp, his uncle, called up the Derby County chairman and said, "Hey, do you want to look at Frank?" And the guy said, "Nah, he doesn't have any experience." And Harry actually leaned to him and said, "Hey man, come on, give him a thing." So Harry Redknapp actually leaned on the chairman to give him a go. So some guys are saying 2 seasons minimum.
Yeah, it was 2 seasons or thereabout. But the fact that you were an understudy under one of the best managers currently managing, you would put Pep in your top 5 so we can keep everything cool with no arguments. I would say like top 3, but it is what it is. Arteta has like the day-to-day in and out, like learning from a mind that can run a Premier League football club. Lampard is just here, this is kind of, do you know what was really telling? In his introductory press conference, or maybe his second one, like before his first game, they asked him, so you've been managed by a lot of great managers, Carlo Ancelotti, Jose Mourinho, we won't call Pellegrini, we won't put him in there, but or maybe was that season with Pep that he played that last season? I think it was Pellegrini, but I'm not sure. One of the two. Like, you've played under some really good managers in your time at Chelsea. Have you called any of them to get some advice about, what you should do defensively, offensively, etc.? He was like, nah, like, I picked up things from them when I was playing, but I haven't really talked to any of them. That was one of the first times I remember going just like, so you have access to Mourinho, who's not hired right now, I don't think. I think he was still waiting for the Spurs job to open, or the Arsenal job, whichever. And this is when Mourinho came out. He was working for Sky Sports, if you remember, when they played against Liverpool or somebody like that. And he was. Do you remember the first game where Mason Mount played, and Mourinho said that Mason Mount didn't look good, and they told Frank Lampard in his first conference that Mourinho had some criticism for Mason Mount, and Lampard looked shocked. He was like, "I thought Mason played very well," essentially. So I'm like, so you have access to Jose Mourinho and Ancelotti in theory. You're not going to use them as resources? Like, hey, what should I do here? What should I do there? He was like, nah, I got this. For me, I'm thinking that is, I don't know if that's naivety, arrogance, stupidity, some combination of the 3. It just made me look at him like, if I had access to Jose Mourinho as a football manager, like I've been one of his great players. He's one of the great football minds. I'm going to call him like, hey, what should I do in this defensive portion of play? What should I do? You're not going to call Mourinho for offensive advice, but you're just like, what can I do here? I'll bet you one of the first things, and if I can land, I bet you one of the first things Mourinho would tell him, find your defense. Whoever your 2 center backs are, find them. Whoever your 2 fullbacks are, find them. Find your goalkeeper. Find a defensive shape. And there was a stat that came out earlier this year. I think it was like Frank Lampard had managed 60 games for Chelsea, and he'd used 56 or 57 different starting 11s. And then people want to be, why are you criticizing this and that? It's like, how can you ever expect there to be any continuity or relationship with the players if they're always changing?
And also, wait, let me put a stop to a narrative. Your hand isn't always forced. Your hand isn't always forced. Like, there are times when, okay, your hand is forced, but no. Any manager, whatever the scenario, the aim is, I need a set 11 because that's how we build chemistry. Even if my arm is hot and everything, I try to build chemistry that even if a player makes a mistake one game, next game. Now, if you make a mistake like 2-3 games, okay, you're out. But I have to create chemistry, and chemistry can always be created where, bro, I know who's on my left, I know who's on my right, I know who's in front of me, I know who's in back of me. So we're like a family. Because every player has a different characteristic. They run differently. They make different decisions. They are good at things. They are weak at other things. Once there is a familiarity of who's to my right, who's to my left, who's over, you now know I need to give him the ball 12 feet. Through ball works best for him. He likes to come short. This guy likes to go over there. If it's a central defensive partner, I know he's slow, so I know I need to now make up for it. So I know he's fast, so I know he can make up for it. I know he's good v1v1s. I know he's good in there. So there's an understanding that you create. I know that. So with that central defensive partnership, you know what each other is strong at and which other is weak at, and you just grow and grow together. But if the guy keeps on changing, you're like, so what is this guy good at and bad at again? And when different scenarios happen in a game, you don't know what his strengths and his weaknesses are because it's someone who is new. So, no, but the Pep points. Pep Guardiola, he waxes lyrical about Cruyff. He talks up and down about Cruyff. And Cruyff learned from that contingent in the 70s, Michel's, because I bought the book talking about total football and everything. So, but Guardiola didn't just be like, I now have my own Pep Guardiola thing. Now, he tweaked it, he refined it himself, but the foundation is from Cruyff, which is a philosophy from the 70s. So a philosophy that has that you, because something that is old, there just seems to be more respectability towards it. Because if that's old, you can take that and you can now update it. But it's a good foundation to have something, a footballing philosophy that has been around for decades and just help to update it. So
remix.
Remix. Basically, so for someone like Lampard, where you played under someone like Mourinho, because think about it, it's logic. I think Lampard has some pretty interesting attacking ideas. And I think that the team in an offensive sense, I can see some of your ideas, but you're lacking defensively. You played under one of the best defensive managers the game has seen. A guy who just knows how to set guys up and knows how to position guys. Because look, as he said even in that documentary, take pride in the clean sheets. It should be a collective objective to get the clean sheets. Wouldn't it make sense you can pick up the phone and you have a direct line to a guy who can give you tips as to how to walk your defense?
I mean, it makes sense to me, but okay.
No, it doesn't make sense to you. It just makes sense. Full stop. Okay.
Now, and this is the next step in where I started questioning Lampard. Sarri played a whole season playing 4-3-3. He never changed it once. There might have been one game where he changed it inside and he changed to 4-2-3-1, but he never played with a back three. Sarri was a disciple. It was almost insane the amount of times he played 4-3-3. You're thinking, well, maybe you should change it up. But Sarri's like, nah, I'm building a foundation for a 4-3-3 team. That is what it's going to be. I'm playing Jorginho at the base. Kante is going to be my box-to-box. Kovacic can come in and do what Kovacic does. Hazard, Willian, Pedro, whoever the front three wants to be. And the center backs, David Luiz, Rudiger, whomever it is. I'm playing 4-3-3. That's what I'm doing. And for me, I like managers to an extent who are bullish with their tactics in a sense. It's like I have an idea, I am going to do my idea. Nobody's going to change my idea. I don't care who we're playing against. If we're playing against Scunthorpe, if we're playing against Dagenham and Redbridge, if we're playing against Real Madrid, Barcelona,
Shout out Scunthorpe.
Bayern Munich, doesn't matter. We're playing 4-3-3. Stop it. Or, it is what it is in that sense. So I looked at it like, well, it was only a season, but you have a team that is well drilled in 4-3-3. Take that foundation and build upon it, Frank. So the players have been training for 10 months. They've gotten out of the back three, back five style, very pragmatic of Antonio Conte. They're starting to come into a more offensive, progressive idea of football. Obviously, if you had another season or two of Sarri, it would have been better, but they decided to get rid of him for you. So build upon the foundation. 4-3-3, it's there for you. Then he gets rid of Luiz. First thing he does. I'm like, Next thing he does, Mason Mount, Ross Barkley starts playing on the wing. I'm like, hey, this is interesting. I don't know what exactly you're up to, playing Ross Barkley on the wing, but I'll be quiet. I'll just hush up for now. But he started playing 4-2-3-1 and then playing around with back threes and back fives. And I'm like, what you've done is in your first season, you've kind of scrapped all the work that Sarri did for you to come into.
You see, I can't hate on that so much. The reason why I can't hate on that so much is that
I can hate on it. I can hate on it.
Do you know why? Do you know why you can't hate on that? Is it's one thing you've got to give every manager. When you hire a manager, like I have a way of I view the game, and it's because you see what should happen is that whenever you're interviewing a manager, is show me your PowerPoint presentation. How do you see this team? How do you see this team to go? Now, they obviously didn't have that with Lampard. They just hired him based off trending and everything. But what should happen is, okay, what do you see for this team? I want them to be better defensively. I'm thinking of doing 3-5-2. I'm thinking of these are the kind of players that I need. Thinking of playing these wingers and so forth. And I want us to play in this style because you're saying that what you've seen us play the last season. What are you going to do to improve or do differently? How are you going to make this team better? And you'll be like, well, this is where I feel you went wrong here. And this is where I'm not going to improve this team based on that. But the issue, as you say, is Sarri didn't do anything wrong. It was a successful season.
My logic for Lampard was more, this is your second year in management. What philosophy do you have? Like, obviously, you might have some idea of how you want to play. But I'm thinking what was left for you seemed to work. So build upon that. If you tweak it a bit, there's subtle differences between 4-3-3 and 4-2-3-1. You're just kind of inverting the midfield. It's not totally terribly different. But when he started bringing in back threes and started playing midfielders out wide, just so they could run and press and haggle people, it gave me pause. And then we have to understand this. People now are saying, Thiago Silva was out. There are reasons why the back line is changing in 2020, 2021, because there's more players, there's this, there's that. Last season, the same things were happening, and there was no transfer window. The players he had were the players he had. They didn't change. Pulisic came in, Kovacic came in. That were deals that were done beforehand. But in a season where there was no new people to mess up whatever you thought that could happen, because this season there's the advent of Silva, there's the advent of Chilwell, there's the advent of Havertz and Werner and Ziyech. That's going to create some complication, and there's injuries that need to be dealt with. So it's kind of understandable in a sense. Last season, there was not really any of that because there were no new players. You knew who you were going to have. So build that team and then fill in the pieces. But he didn't do that last season either. That goes back to the stat. 60 games, 56, 57 different starting 11s. You would expect that to happen on occasion. You're playing in Champions League, League Cup, FA Cup. Of course, it's going to change a few times. But you've only repeated the same formation once or not the same formation, but the same people once or twice. How can you expect anything to be cohesive? It's like this season, he's starting over. It's like last season kind of just was get the objectives. But what did we learn or what did you build that's now being kind of built upon again this season. I don't see it.
Okay, so let's move because we're going to talk on different things. I want to now get to this whole Kante thing and this whole idea of Kante declining. But let me just hit some of these thingy chats. So from Daniel Jones Ortega says, legends. Thank you, bro. Thank you, bro. Thank you, bro. Natsa says, HH, you are against English heritage. God save the Queen. Be happy you live here. Lampard is the greatest manager of all time. Local Chelsea fan. Okay, I get it. Dungo Kamal says, thank you, Super Chat says that the problem is that the Chelsea management job should be the easiest job in the Premier League. All Lampard has to do is play the players in their correct positions and keep it simple. Dungo Kamal again says, Sarri would win the league with this team. Dungo Kamal says, Lampard getting the job at Derby is the definition of white privilege.
I was thinking it, but I didn't want to say it because I knew where that would go. It's just like what black person can have their uncle call somebody in the championship and get a job?
It's not happening.
Show me. Show me.
It's not happening. It's not happening. And I think Frank needs to accept that. He never will, but he needs to accept that the reason why you had that Derby County job was because of Harry Redknapp. Because Harry Redknapp is loved in the game. People love him and people respect him. If he didn't pull the ammo, because the Derby County chairman said to him that, no, sorry, he has no experience. Why am I hiring a guy with no experience? And Harry, because Harry leans on him and everything, I was like, hey, look, it's Harry. All right, because it's you, Harry, I'll give your nephew a go. But if there is no black player who, like, if Sol Campbell had a nephew or something like that, and Sol Campbell say, hey, give my guy a job. So,
do you know what it is?
What?
There are no black Harry Redknapps to do that for you. It's not necessarily the person who gets the job. It's the person who makes the call that can get you the job. And there are no black Harry Redknapps, not that I know of. Like the most powerful black person in the English football system is Les Ferdinand, who is at Queen's Park Rangers. So maybe he could make a call that could get a black guy a job, maybe. But that's the only one who I think, like, he has the weight that can do that. So until we start making black Harry Redknapps, there's not going to be any black Frank Lampards to benefit from it. And that's going to take another 30, 40 years probably. So,
all right. So Kante, should we address this
whole Kante
thing? So people are saying that he's declining because I know that you mentioned the reason for this. Now, let me sort of start because I think I do sort of agree with your assessment. But here's where I see.
How long are these shows, by the way? We doing like hour 30, 2 hours?
If we can, let's hit it because it's the US debate. So I don't want to watch it. So let's do it until the top of the hour.
Okay.
So we're an hour 12. So we'll do, once we hit 2 hours, then we'll. So basically, that's the end time.
Cool.
Kante. You see, here's my thing about Kante is Kante can do many things.
He can do
and
everything.
He's a very, very multi-skilled player. And the strange thing is that I do admit that he may not be playing at the same level as he was during the time for Leicester City, all the way up onto the World Cup final against France, and when he was under Conte. Again, World Cup final, he had an illness on that day. And that is the reason why he just wasn't himself at the final, because he literally was ill. But Sarri literally played him as like a free-roaming, attack-sided kind of player, and you could literally see Kante learning on the job. Kante was like, "Oh, this is new."
I think he scored like 5 or 6 goals last season.
Yeah, but you see how he had to readjust his game to something that was new, because he was not used to being so far up the pitch. Because he was more used to now being in a much more restricted area. Maybe going up a bit to launch the counter-attack, but he didn't really make those many forward runs. And now you've just seen the guy being played again and again and again and again. And if you play a guy so extensively, fatigue is going to creep in. Mistakes will creep in. But the issue is that even as people are insulting Kante, because I'm watching the games, I'm like, interception, wins the ball, gets the ball. Because my thing is that if Kante, because and let me think about what you think of this. The defense have issues, loads of mistakes. Wouldn't it make sense for Lampard to be like, Kante, please do what Fabinho does with Liverpool or what Busquets did with Barcelona. Sit in front of this defense and just be a extra protective layer for this defense and just mash out that area and let Kovacic do most of the passing and the midfield in there.
Okay. This is part of the problem that Conte's had since he emerged with Leicester. People have called him the next Makelele for like years, but it's been erroneous. The reason they've compared him to Claude Makelele is because they're black, they're short, they're French, and they play for Chelsea. Well, even with Leicester, but maybe it's just wearing blue. So those things were all like, oh, so he's the next N'Golo Kante, or N'Golo Kante is the next Claude Makelele, right? He never played like Claude. Claude sat in front of the two center backs and just protected everything that came in that zone. I don't think he ever went into the opponent's into the opponent's 18-yard box. He just stood back and just distributed when he needed to. Collected the ball, gave it to Essien, gave it to Lampard, gave it to Ballack, gave it to whomever needed it, right? But he wasn't a box-to-box in the same way. But because of that bad comparison, people have always said that Conte, that's what Conte does. He just sits back and mops stuff. It's just an erroneous thing. Conte is a box-to-box midfielder who is more of a destroyer. You'll see him in both boxes, collecting the ball, tackling. You'll never see him do a slide tackle, though, by the way, which is something to keep in mind. But the problem with this comparison, though, is, and this was something that happened with Sarri and that happened with Lampard last season, but especially with Sarri, when Sarri started playing him more advanced, was he needs to be a DM, play him in DM. He needs to be playing at the base, not Jorginho. Put Conte at the base of the midfield. Conte never played at the base of the midfield. With Conte and with Ranieri, he was playing in the midfield too. There was never a base really to play him in because there was just him and Drinkwater or him and Matic or him and Fabregas. Like there was never a base. So he was just a box-to-box guy. He gets the ball, he gives it to Mahrez. He finds Vardy with it. He finds Mark Albrighton. He finds, in a Chelsea context, get the ball to Hazard probably. Or get the ball to Jorginho if you can, and then Jorginho can find the next pass. That's been his role. And that involved a lot of running. If you look at like the kilometers per match, like it's a lot. But, and this is what I've always said, that bad comparison to Makelele, even though it was premature, it's something that he's going to have to develop into. People already thought that's what he was, but that's not what he is. But the older he gets, and remember, when Claude Makelele played for Chelsea, I think he was 31, somewhere in there when he came from Real Madrid. It's around that same age, where Conte is now. Conte's 29. He'll be 30 in January, I want to say, or February, somewhere around there. If he wants to extend his career the same way Makelele did, who I believe started for Chelsea in the 2008. Yeah, he started for Chelsea in the 2008 Champions League final, if memory serves. Maybe not. But he was in and around the team. If he wants to extend his career into 33, 34, 35, if that's what he wants, maybe he doesn't. But if he wants to, he's going to have to develop now into Makelele, which all the people who said play him as a DM are now going to be like, exactly, this is what we wanted. But they were wrong the whole time because his best position up until managers ran him into the ground was the box-to-box midfielder. And he proved that he could probably play in a more attacking role under Sarri.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
He played that role well.
So if he wants to extend his career, and if Lampard's smart, that he's probably the only world-class player that's here right now, maybe the others can develop into it, whether you look at Havertz, Werner, Ziyech is borderline. But the true world-class player that I have here is N'Golo Kante. Everybody else is there or thereabout. If I want to keep him in the team and I want to take advantage of what's between his ears more so than his legs, I need to make him into, as you say, a Busquets type of player. Just sit and just basically watch the Makelele tape, from 2004, 2005, 2006.
Basically, read the game, intercept.
You can do that,
pop the ball,
and
pop
you
the
can
ball,
read the game.
intercept, pop
It's
the
not
ball.
as much running up and down, maybe more laterally, side to side. Just go get the ball, find Werner, find Mount, find whoever the midfielders are. Just find them, and then they can build the play from there. For me, I would like to see Jorginho maybe play in one of the advanced two midfield roles and have Kanté play at the base. I would have liked to see that with Sarri, but I just guess they did. I don't think they trusted Kanté at that point to trap the ball, be pressed, find the next. I don't think they trusted him. I think he can do it, but I just don't think they trusted him to do it. But that's what has to happen because the decline. It's unfortunate, but it happens for everybody, especially the way that Kanté played. The decline's here. We just kind of have to accept it. Deschamps, Sarri, Lampard, they ran him into the ground. Kanté to a certain extent as well. So if he's smart and if the managers that he has are smart, you start putting him at the base of a midfield and telling him, "You're Makelele, watch the Makelele tape." And now that erroneous comparison that's been there for the 5 years ago can now be true in 2020, 2021. So that's my Kanté answer. That he's going to have to be Makelele now, but don't make that mean that he should have been or he was Makelele in the past because they were two different things.
I mean, basically just to round off the Kanté thing, and then before we sort of go to the next topic, this is because a lot of people think that, again, the narrative that I only defend Kanté because he's dark skinned and African and all that. Look, it's weird. Yes, you see, I had that same facial expression. Yes, but my thing about it is that Kanté is a very, very talented player, and just saying decline, it breaks my heart because I'm like, my God, if he was just handled better and appreciated more, you could have had a truly important player for Chelsea.
Wait a minute. I think he's declined in the role that he was at.
Oh, so you're not saying that he's declined as a player?
If they moved him into a Busquets, Makelele, just collect the ball, he's back being world class. He's back being the best player in that position in the world.
Okay, that's different.
So he's declined from being what he was when he was 25. I think as a 30-year-old that probably makes sense.
No.
But now once he adapts to a new role, if they're smart enough to put him in it, there's no decline. He's just great in that role again.
When you just watch the Kanté, it is so obvious that look at what he's doing well now. What he's doing well is breaking up play, making good smart passes, making good decisions. If you're now saying we need you to now intercept, go into midfield, go into attack, go up, go down, go up, it's too much. And also you're doing it in a team that is still building. The team isn't even yet structured well. There are still issues with the team, and the team still hasn't yet found its identity. So it would make sense that when a team is finding its identity, have some what's the word? Some safety measures there. And Kanté is a great safety measure to have while you figure out what is the personality of the team, what is the directive of the team. So what we're figuring out what the directive of this team is, Kanté, bro, just hold it down here for us, please. But if you're having Kantés going up and down, Jorginho's over there, it's like
the problem. You mentioned Fabinho. Fabinho has the height and the physical attributes to where when he gets older, he can obviously just be a center back like he's been for Liverpool. Kanté can't transform himself into a center back, and he's not going to transform himself into an attacking midfielder. So the only thing really that he can do as a box-to-box midfielder who's maybe lost some of the some of the fuel in his tank, so to speak, is to become a more static, just single pivot DM player. Basically doing what Jorginho does now, but just with a little bit more mobility, just based off, his anatomy and genetics or whatever it is. So, yeah, Kanté can't become a center back. That's not what he can do. You're not going to put him as a fullback or anything like that. So if he wants to extend his career, and probably if he just wants to save himself for later in life, like you don't want to be old with bad knees and all that kind of stuff. He just needs to find it. It might be Lampard. It might be another manager. It might be a different club that he has to go to, right? Because maybe just Lampard won't want to see it, or he'll want to buy some other player who can play in that position. But Conte needs to find a manager who can trust him to be collecting the ball from center backs, finding midfielders, collecting the ball from center backs, finding midfielders, knowing that he's going to be pressed, but that manager trusts him that he's press resistant enough to find the next pass. And then in possession, or in defense rather, Conte's going to be Conte, but you just kind of limit him a bit. Like instead of going all the way there to get the ball, don't pull that trigger. You can stay back and just save yourself a little bit. Like don't be more advanced than the midfielders in front of you. So yeah, hopefully that's Lampard, because I do love Conte. But if it's not, then Conte needs to find that next home.
But basically, look, it's the obvious move, because you have a guy who every game that I see him, he reads the game supremely well. He knows where you're going to pass the ball. He intercepts it. So it makes sense that let him 100% fully hone in and focus on that aspects of the game, which will greatly help the team that is suffering defensively.
And also, I think people are judging what Conte can be by what they've seen from him. So basically they're saying, we've never seen you do this before, therefore you can't do it. That doesn't make any sense. Because before Sarri, we never saw him really attacking or in the opposition's box. The season with Sarri, he was, I think, the highest scoring midfielder over Kovacic and Jorginho and Ross Barkley and all of those guys. So my theory has always been, you put Conte wherever and he'd be good at that. Maybe not as a number 10, but anywhere in the midfield, in a midfield 3, you put him in each role, he can do a comparable job to whomever the next best player in the Premier League is at that. That's always been my assumption. So yeah, it's just a matter of, again, him finding the place that's going to allow him to develop his late 20s, early 30s game. Because really and truly, you can't expect him to do what he was doing at 26 when he's 32. That's just insane. And then France on top of it? Nah.
All right. Nah. So moving on to our next topic, man. But before that, let me just read. So from Natsa says, where do you live? Asking on behalf of Infinity and Samantha. You'll never know where I live. I live on Mars. So unless I'm a moron, I'm not giving out my flipping physical address, man. So Kai Havertz. Something you said struck me. And I've been thinking about it. Was it the right decision to buy Kai Havertz? And because, as you said, it creates more problems. Because right now, what you have is... Wait, let me land.
I'm going to let you finish. I'm just letting you know that I have a point.
Is that, yes, he's a quality player. He's a really, really good player. And quality players help to improve your team. And you want to have a whole bunch of quality players and so forth. But Chelsea's issue wasn't scoring goals or getting goals and everything. The issue was
keeping them out. Yeah.
So, and my thing with Kai Havertz is that getting a Kai Havertz is the worst thing for a manager like Lampard, who is obsessed with changing the team and doesn't want to have a strict set team. And one thing that scared me from what Lampard said was that, Kai Havertz can play multiple positions, which is the great thing about him. I was like, oh, damn it. Because now, when you're thinking about this, it's like, who do you leave out? Because Pulisic has to play on the left. He simply has to, because he played so well on the left after the restart. Werner.
Have you seen his recent Instagram activity?
Oh, right wing. Yeah, but that's political.
I think Pulisic belongs on the right wing there, my friend.
Shout out to 50 cents, man. Shout out to 50 cents. No, but my thing though is that, like, look, it's like,
Yeah, bro. There's a fake have hope, man. I thought that was you for a second. It's a
Nah,
fake have hope.
yeah,
Is
it's. I think it's infinity. Like, look, it's just bro. Just moving on swiftly, man. I totally look. They
Wow,
just,
that's wild.
yeah, man.
So like they
It's
actually went and got your logo
yeah,
and made
yeah.
a
Come on,
new email
yeah, man.
address.
Yeah. I told you, look, it's life, man. It's life. What can he say? Shout outs, man. Thank you, bro. Um, because it's tough. I'm conflicted because Kai Havertz. I remember before Chelsea were even thinking of getting Kai Havertz. I remember guys saying, "Oh my God, is this the next big thing? Is the next young thing?" Blah 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 blah. I was like, "Okay, boom." Then I was watching some Leverkusen games. I was like, "I don't see it." I'm using the eye test. I don't care about what people say. I'm not caring about who scored. Using the eye test, I'm like, "What's the big deal about this Kai Havertz guy?" I don't see what the thing is. Like as soon as you saw Draxler, like, "Yeah, man, this guy can ball." Or when you saw Gods for double, this guy can ball. So Havertz now being in this team, it's a case of did Chelsea need someone of Havertz's characteristics? Because you have Tammy, you have Giroud, you have Werner, you have Pulisic, you have Hudson-Odoi. Those are 5 attacking players. five attacking options that you can have. And then you now put in a 6th in there as well. Oh, there's a 7th, Mason Mount.
Now, can I pause you there? The question isn't was Havertz necessary. I think I've refined my thinking on this. Havertz is cool to have. Necessary is going a bit too far, right? But he's a good piece to have. If you can get him, you get him, okay? The problem isn't necessarily Havertz. The problem is what Havertz means politically. Now, meaning club politics, not some sort of, Donald Trump, Joe Biden politics or Boris Johnson politics. No, club politics, meaning,
Smart.
follow me here. If you buy a player for over 70 million, that player has to play. Full stop. So if you buy Kai Havertz has to play. That's part of the political game of this. It's the reason why Morata got a bunch of games because he cost 60 million. It's the reason why Kepa got a bunch of games because he's the most expensive goalkeeper ever to be signed. That's why he gets all the chances that he gets. Is because he costs a lot of money. If you spend a bunch of money, the player has to play. You think you're going to bench Harry Maguire? He's club captain and he costs 70 million. United's not doing that. So the political consequence of buying Kai Havertz means that Kai Havertz has to play. You can't have him on the bench. But we have a manager, meaning Chelsea, not me. Chelsea Football Club have a manager that's insistent on playing Mason Mount. So what does that mean? If you have to play Kai Havertz and you have to play Mason Mount, the on-pitch consequence is that Kai Havertz is going to play in number 10 if you choose to play a 4-2-3-1, which Lampard seems to want to do. But now we need to find a space for Mason Mount because that's Lampard's jam. He loves, hey, I need a playlist. What's my favorite song? Mason Mount. That's what he's clicking on every time. It has 10,000 plays at this point. He needs to play Mason Mount. So if you need to play Kai and Mason Mount together, what does that mean? Kai takes number 10, Mount's on the wing. The ramifications of that means a player like Hudson-Odoi left on the bench. The consequences of that means Werner, who also has political status, now has to play up top instead of playing on the wing, which means you sacrifice Olivier Giroud, who could be a good option, or Tammy Abraham, who could be a good option. Also, I think we've seen in the past few games, Mason Mount has been finding himself. Mason Mount has been finding himself on the left, which means that a player who you, in an ideal circumstance, like a Christian Pulisic, you'd want to see him on the left so he can cut it on his right foot because he's a good dribbler or a decent dribbler. But Mason Mount is playing on the left. So it's not necessarily Kai Havertz. Excuse me, drinking water. It's not necessarily that Kai Havertz is the problem. It's the political ramifications of Kai Havertz plus the incessance or the tendency of Frank Lampard to play Mason Mount. So those two things combined create a tactical issue, or at least a personnel issue, where actually it's 3. Werner has to play, you would think. Havertz has to play number 10, and then Mount has to play, which he doesn't really. But in Lampard's mind, we're jumping into Lampard's mind. I need to get Mount on the team sheet. So if those 3 things have to happen, that means there are 2 or 3 players like Giroud, like Abraham, like Hudson-Odoi, like Pulisic, like Ziyech, that are affected by those 2 things having to happen at the same time. So yes, you buy Kai Havertz, but that also means you're sacrificing Mount from his best position. But Lampard isn't willing to do that. Because in a 4-2-3-1, if you gave Mount his best position, he would play number 10. That's where you're supposed to play in 4-2-3-1. You're not a holding. We're not going to put you in a double pivot, and you're not a winger, so we're not going to play you wide. So the only place you can play in 4-2-3-1, Mason, is number 10. But we just bought Kai Havertz for 70 million, so he's playing there. So really, a logical solution would be Mason Mount now becomes a squad player. And now there's an open door for Pulisic on the left, Ziyech on the right, or Werner on the left. Ziyech and Pulisic can have their own battle. And then you place an actual striker like a Giroud or a Tammy Abraham up top. Those would be the 2 logical things. But no, we're not. We are not living in logic. We're living in Chelsea land. But Chelsea land has no logic.
My thing is, let's say you take Havertz out of the situation.
Now,
cool.
No.
Oh,
I thought it was a question.
No, it wasn't a question.
Okay.
it was a rhetorical question.
Okay.
So, let's say you take Havertz out of the equation. You can now potentially, even Lampard wouldn't do this, you can potentially go 4-3-3. Because you could then have...
He wouldn't do it.
I said, let's take Lampard out of the equation. If you take Lampard out of the equation, because see, for me, Havertz's his best position is number 10. I don't want to hear anything about, he can play false nine. I know he's a number 10. So if he's there, he has to play number 10. That is his best position. So if we take Havertz out of it, so he's not even in the squad, Chelsea don't even buy him. Instead of, let's say, Havertz, you maybe buy another good, strong midfielder to be in the midfield with Kante and Kovacic.
Partey was available.
Partey, whoever it is, you throw in like a Partey, Kante.
Don't give me
Kovacic.
Declan Rice either.
Forget that. That is now a solid, strong midfield. And then Pulisic on the left. You have Ziyech on the right. And they can either have Werner, Giroud, or Tammy as a striker. If Pulisic doesn't work, okay, boom, Werner, come out on the left. So when you have that, that is now, you are forced into a structure. There. With Havertz coming in, it's literally creates the problem of
he's not the problem.
No. I know
Lampard is the problem.
Look, when I say Havertz is the problem, I'm not saying Havertz the man. I said Havertz coming in is linking with Lampard having the issue.
Exactly. What any other manager, you give him Havertz with the same team and there's no problem. But Lampard has the connection to Mount that forces the confusion.
Havertz is the issue. No, I'm saying Havertz is the issue because of Lampard.
So Lampard is the issue.
But I'm saying that the worst thing that Chelsea could have done in terms of Lampard is getting Havertz because of Lampard. That's what my point is.
But you can't. Okay, who's going to be at the club longer in reality? Frank Lampard or Kai Havertz?
Well, Havertz.
Yeah, if he signed a 5-year deal, if he's good enough, you might give him an extension. He'll probably get sold if he's actually really good. He'll get sold to Bayern Munich or Madrid or Barcelona, whoever it is, and he'll maybe be around 6-7 years, right? Lampard's not going to last 6 or 7 years. If he does, God help us, right? Or God help him. I don't know. It is what it is. It's so buying Havertz isn't for me. It's not Havertz in and of himself. And I think we're probably saying the same thing. It's not Havertz, the player. And I understand your point that buying another player in that position gives Lampard a complication. Therefore, avoid complication altogether and don't buy it or don't buy him. He's a person. Don't buy him. But from a club perspective, shouldn't you be trusting that if we buy him a good player, he will play the players in their best position, and therefore good things will happen. So in theory, the idea of Conte, Kovacic / Jorginho is in vying for positions in the double pivot. Then we move into the attacking four, and you have Pulisic on the left, who can compete in some ways with Hudson-Odoi. Havertz is the preferred number 10, with Mount competing in that position. Ziyech has the right almost to himself because there is no other natural right-footed player, although Pulisic and Hudson-Odoi can... Whoever is left from Pulisic and Hudson-Odoi is also competing with Ziyech on that side because they can both play. And then up top, you have Werner competing or trying to hold off Tammy and Giroud. That seems to me like a logical conclusion. But if you have the political ramifications of a 70 million player has to play and the teacher's pet has to play, then that's what creates the imbalance. Any other manager would have no problem putting Mount on the bench. If Carlo Ancelotti came, he's not playing Mount wide. He's going to play a wide player wide because that's what makes sense. So the club is looking at Havertz like, this isn't going to cause our manager to play a central player on the wing. The central player that he's replacing will just go to the bench and it will create a stronger bench. That doesn't happen here. Because like I said, we're dealing with no logic. Or there is a logic to it. It's just a flawed one.
No. I mean, it's not for me. I think it's illogical.
And again,
no. From a footballing sense of view, it's illogical because it doesn't make sense. Because if we're dealing with football logic, there is no footballing logic playing a central player out wide. There's no logic there. You know, there is zero, especially when you're seeing the games and he is not really having much of an effect. But just to with the whole Mason Mount thing, let's just because I don't want to spend too long on it because we've done it for so long. I feel that because I saw something, I think it was, I don't know who it was like some kind of a sports channel or somewhere where they said that Lampard trusts Mount, and because he trusts Mount, he's always going to play him. And the guy made the point that when you find a player that you trust, it is always very key for a manager to have that. Because my thing about this is that, just to be very clear, I have nothing against Mason Mount. Mason Mount is a talented player. He has some good things and he does some good things and there is talent there. When everybody is fit, he isn't in the starting lineup. He can't be. If everybody is fit in this whole Chelsea team, like there is no argument. Because there is no space for him in the team if everybody is fit. Like, he is a great squad player to have. Come in, last 15 minutes, try and just affect the game from the center. Okay, we're 1-0 down or something, bro. Come in with that energy. Come in and press up. He's very good to come off the bench. But if everybody is fit, because the key thing, your starting lineup, how you want to start the game, Mount can't be there because if you're 4-2-3-1, there's no way he plays in the two. That's impossible. And here's my thing, and this is my issue I had with some Chelsea fans over there, because they said that Hudson-Odoi can't play over Mount because Hudson-Odoi is a defensive liability. He doesn't track back as well as Mount. And because Mount is better at tracking back...
On the left?
Let me land. No, let me land. Because their argument is that between Pulisic, Mount, and Hudson-Odoi doesn't track back as well as Pulisic and Mount. So therefore, he wants guys to really be able to track back on the wing. And here's my thing. You're honestly not... Because let me just start here. First thing. Hudson-Odoi isn't garbage defensively. He's okay. He's all right. And I'm sure Mount is probably better at tracking back and maybe being more defensive aware than him. Daniel, never in my life have I seen someone in a 4-2-3-1 pick a wide attacker for his defensive qualities rather than his attacking qualities. Never in my life have I seen someone not pick a wide player based on what can you do when we give you the ball, and can you get either to the byline or can he cut in and shoot? Obviously, if it was back in the 90s, is get to the byline, cross the ball for the striker.
Yeah.
Now in the modern game is get the ball, cut on the outside, shoot, because you are like a striker now. Because the inside forward is now the new striker. That is what is required either in a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3. Now, if we're playing 3-5-2 or 3-4-3, okay, those wing backs, yes, you go forward. We need to go back, but even when you go back as well, we have three at the back. So yes, you should be there to cover, but we have three at the back for the cover. So there is no footballing logic as to why Mount should play, because it is the first time in my life that a player is picked solely for what they do defensively as a wide attacking player.
Okay. Firstly, the people who say that are stupid. Secondly, the reason they're stupid is because Lampard isn't playing Mount to track back. He's playing Mount to press forward. So if anybody says, oh, he's trying to track back and to help the fullback, that's just illogical. Like you aren't watching the games properly. He's not there to run backwards. He's there to run forwards, to press the opposition's fullback and center backs into making mistakes so Chelsea can collect the ball higher up the pitch, and hopefully that can create some counter-attacking or attacks in that sense. So that's number one. Anybody who tells you Mason Mount is in the team because he runs backwards more than Hudson-Odoi is just they're a rookie, if I can be nice. They aren't developed yet.
You see this nonsense? Mount is not bad on the wing.
It's not that he's bad on the wing. It's just that there are wingers available who are naturally adept in that position, that it doesn't make any sense to play Mount on the wing over somebody who's trained in that position their whole life. Nevertheless, do Bayern want Mason Mount? Last I checked, they tried to drop 40 million on Hudson-Odoi. So now we have to ask ourselves the question: are Bayern a better run, better football club than Chelsea? If the answer is yes, some Chelsea fans might say no, but I will tell you in plain English, Bayern are a better organization from top to bottom than Chelsea Football Club.
They're one of the best run organizations in football. It's a fact. So
now, why you have to ask yourself the question: why do they want Hudson-Odoi? Do you think that Bayern just are out here making mistakes on players they want? People are like, who is this Davies guy? Why would you get him from Vancouver Whitecaps? Turns out he's just arguably the best left back in the world right now. Nobody's trying to buy Mason Mount, but people are trying to buy Hudson-Odoi, and a club that I would say is the best run club in Europe, who don't make mistakes more times than not. We even thought Coleman was a mistake. Just won a Champions League. Like these guys, people thought
scoring the Champions League winning goal as well. Man.
People thought Gnabry was a mistake. I don't think so anymore, guys. So I look at it like, if Bayern want this player, that must mean this player is somebody you should be playing. Bayern don't take scrubs. They don't miss. So if they don't miss, this is a player that you need to play. Find a way to play him so you can keep him. Otherwise, Bayern will take him, and you don't want Bayern to take him. Bayern don't want Mount. They want Hudson-Odoi. So for me, that would be another clue. I think I might need to play Callum Hudson-Odoi. They want him even after he tore his Achilles tendon. Nobody wants you after you tear your Achilles tendon, but Bayern still want this guy. So for me, it's just a clue. It's just it's just an adjacent point. But my main point, that to your point, is Mount's in the team so he can press. Not so he can track back and, I don't know, stop the opposition winger or something like that. No. He's there to get the ball. And the reason Lampard trusts him is because he knows when the triggers are to go press, when to stay in your position, all of that. The only thing I can see is Hudson-Odoi still isn't fully fit from the Achilles tear, so we're trying to save him. But you don't need to save him for like the last 10 minutes against Sevilla or something like that. Or just if that the whole Sevilla thing is a different point. But yeah, it's I don't blame Mount. This is something else I want to say. I don't blame Mount. Mount, if the manager tells him to play in goal, he'll go play in goal. It is what it is. It's the person who's pulling the strings that I have the issues with. But
all right, so coming into the last 10 minutes,
yep.
let's just sort of come into just very quickly. Maybe you can do this in like 5, 6, 7 minutes, and then take some questions. So let's try and combine Sevilla and Man United in one. General thoughts on the Sevilla game. So for me, and then I'll throw it over to you. So just to round off, clean sheets, but why should that really be praised? Sevilla didn't go there to try to win. They went trying to win the game. They got what they wanted, which is that make sure we don't lose. Let's get a point away from home. So Sevilla didn't really test Chelsea's defensive jaw. And for me, throughout the whole 90 minutes, it didn't work. Offensively, Chelsea, it didn't work. I didn't know what the pattern was. I didn't know what the chemistry was. You could see that the players just simply were not clicking. And combining now without the United game, what is the best team? Does Lampard actually know what the best team is? And how long does this team have to keep on waiting for? Hey, wait till we're cohesive. Wait till we're cohesive. There has to be a time when this is the first 11. And these are guys who are on the training pitch. So when you're in the training ground, you're playing and everything. These are guys that know each other and everything, because you need to have a first 11. Like Salah knows, boom, Mane is there. I know Firmino is there. Sterling knows that, boom, Maguire's there. Mara's there. So you have to have some kind of coherence and consistency there. And as I looked at those players, I'm like, these guys still seem like strangers, which has me worried for the United game. Because if they play like that against United, where is the goal coming from? Where is the stuff up? Because fair enough, Sevilla are a good defensive side. They're very good at defending, and they were quite conservative, so they didn't give Chelsea a lot of space. But just my worry is I don't know what the pattern or the personality of the team is.
So my first thought about the Sevilla game was Zuma. So people were critical of Zuma. I didn't think he played his best game in center back. But I did have the thought that the only person that was with him when they played Southampton was Chilwell. Everybody else in the back line changed. So Kepa was out for Mendy. Christensen was out for Zuma. And I believe Azpilicueta was out for Reece James in that back line. Everybody else had changed. So he was playing with a completely different back four. And people are like, oh, he looks like he doesn't have a complete understanding.
But the Thiago Silva thing was forced, though, because I think he came back.
Either way, I'm not saying Lampard deserves blame for that. I understand the circumstances.
So just explaining the whole Zuma thing.
Yeah, it's just like I can have some sympathy with him in terms of, you don't have to make that pass. Of course, you could trap your individual play could be better, but the overall, Of course, there are some defenders, like an Alonso, for instance, where it's just like, damn, like this guy's pretty bad. But most of the time, I judge a defensive player by just the whole defense anyway, because they work as a unit more so than attacking players and midfielders to a certain extent. But defense is really just that unit, especially the two center backs. And if they're always changing, I do have sympathy in my heart for somebody like Zuma, who's just like, damn, one week it's Tomori, the next week it's Christensen, the next day it's Silva, the next day it could be Rudiger, we don't know. I feel bad because there was a point where Thiago Silva had an injury and Rudiger was warming on the bench. So I'm like, this guy's going to play with all the different center backs in the course of 2 weeks. How can you ever create an understanding? And then you add the Kepa Mendy thing. Obviously, Mendy was outside of his hands when they played in the Premier League on the weekend. But still, you can still see their understanding. Like, they ran into each other, and Zuma was like, no, when I say this, I want you to come get it. Mendy was kind of talking back and forth. So you see they're building a rapport and understanding, but I do feel sympathy in that way. Last thing that I remember from the Sevilla game was, and obviously I'm not here to bash Lampard, but it's just a point I observed. He didn't know what to do. He didn't know what to do. He had 2 substitutions left, and okay.
Wait, no, I'm still here. I'm still here. I'm still here.
He had 2 substitutions left, and the game was 0-0. And you thought, well, why don't you try to change it? Why don't you bring in, a striker, whether it's Giroud, which I thought would have been the move, or Abraham, or Hudson-Odoi if you want. And he left it until like the last 3 or 4 minutes. And my thinking was he didn't want to pull the trigger because he knew if I put on these attacking players, that might swing the balance of play into Sevilla's favor. But he left it too late for those players coming on to make an impact. And for me, that's a mistake. Like, at least, give them 20 minutes. Don't give them 3 or 4. Like, that seems, unfair, So, or it just seems wrong, I guess would be a way to put it. So, I think he was caught between 2 minds. Do I risk losing the game by putting on better attacking players, or at least more fresh ones? Or do I just kind of sit back and just let Sevilla do what they came to do, which was get a point?
I think Lopetegui won that. I think you could just say that Lopetegui, the more experienced manager, he played.
Did you see the way he blinks? By the way, it's he blinks so weird, man.
No. And I think he got it because they got what they wanted. They're like, let's just ensure if we win, cool. Let's ensure that we draw. Boom. So they now feel like if they're now in control of the group because they have Chelsea in Seville and they have Rennes and Krasnodar there as well. So lastly, before we take some questions, what are you feeling about United, man? Because see, my thing is, the crazy thing is that whenever you predict these things, that's what's the lineup going to be? You just never know.
If I had to guess, I would give you Mendy in goal, Azpilicueta right back, Chilwell left back, Zuma Silva center back. Although I could see Zuma coming out for Christensen just because he didn't have a good game and he'll want to change it. Midfield 2, he'll play Kante and he'll probably play Jorginho. Although I think he should play Kante and Kovacic together just because they're more mobile. And you're going to be dealing with, the pace of Rashford, Martial, etc. I think he'll go Havertz number 10, Werner up top, probably Pulisic on the right, and probably Mount again on the left. With Ziyech coming in after 60 minutes.
So you believe that he's going to start Mount again on the left?
I don't think he's going to want to risk Ziyech in a game like this. Because this could easily be a muscle injury waiting to happen. Mm-hmm. So I can see him going with Mount again. And I say that because he took Mount off prematurely in the Champions League. So for me, that's a signal that he's resting him for the next game rather than there's something wrong that he's done. But personally, if I was picking the lineup, I'd go Mendy, Zuma, Silva, Azpilicueta, Chilwell, Kante, Kovacic, and the front four would have a whole reworking. So I'd put Pulisic on the left. I'd put Havertz centrally. I'd put Ziyech on the right. I'd risk him. And I'd put Werner up top. And maybe if I want to save Ziyech, I'd put Werner on the left, Pulisic on the right, and I'd start with an actual striker. Because Mendy has a tendency to just kick it deep. I've seen that already, which I like. Don't take any risk. Kepa's gotten into Mane situations because he just wasn't ready to kick it deep. So if you are going to kick it long, at least have a Tammy Abraham, Olivier Giroud, somebody who can hold the ball and occupy somebody like Maguire.
Bro, I'll be real with you, man. I like strikers. I like having there is just someone there. He stays there. See, Werner can't play as striker, but Werner doesn't come across me as he is a striker in a person's world. Hence why this issue arises. Because it's like Pulisic has to play left is where he's the most effective. But if you're not playing Werner striker, you could play Werner on the left.
So then Pulisic can play on the right, Havertz central, and then you play an actual striker. But we know what's going to happen. That lineup's going to come out, and we know what we're going to see.
So I mean, what do you think in scoreline? Because for me,
I
just
don't
have
know.
no
I don't.
idea.
I will
have no
tell
idea.
you. I'll tell you. Like I'll text you 60 minutes before the game. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm not feeling good about this, or maybe we will. So
Okay, guys, we'll take some questions, man. So guys,
it's 2 hours, man.
send
One
some
question. Pick the best one question.
send questions, Joe.
This guy just wants super chats.
Guys,
I beg.
guys, send in queue, send in some journal
Help
questions.
pay Hap Hope's rent, guys. Like send in some $20 super chats. Like who can give the biggest super? No, I'm joking.
No, don't do that. Don't do that, man. I'm not trying to.
Yo, I've seen some
get-
people on this thing. Yo, they get like $100 super chats. I'm like, damn. But then
No.
apparently YouTube takes like a healthy percentage of the super chat.
I mean, no, they took it because basically a guy that I know, Jody's Corden, like those guys, they give that guy a good thing, a best double pivot.
Can't take over.
Wait, who says I live in Hammersmith? But like, why are guys so obsessed with where I live? I'm never gonna tell you. Best double pivot. So he said Kante Kovacic. Yeah, it is like Jorginho is Sarri's boy, and I think without Jorginho, Sarri can't walk. Without Jorginho, Sarri can't walk.
If you ask me who's the best in like the base of a 4-3-3, I'd tell you Jorginho. But you want to double pivot, so there you go.
So maybe we'll take this one last one. I'm late, but can Lampard be a great manager, or are we going on hope because of his playing career?
He has some interesting ideas that I think with time could prove fruitful. I'm not necessarily sure if Chelsea's going to be the place where they come to fruition unless they give him so much time to, perfect those ideas. But great is stretching. I think he can be like Alan Pardew, one of the one of them English managers that just stays around. I think that's probably his level. Just like one of those guys that's just always there. Like that's his level. But the clubs that he'll get because he's Frank Lampard are probably going to be pretty good. So
yeah, I mean,
I would have just preferred stay at Derby for 3 or 4 years. Actually learn this management thing day in, day out. Because obviously you have a good or a decent understanding given that you were a professional in the game. But I would suspect that the actual implementation of being a manager and dealing with all of the egos that you don't necessarily have to as a player would be kind of striking. And to only have 12 months of experience of doing that, or maybe even 10 months or however long the championship season is, to then have the responsibility of Chelsea and the egos that come with that, I think that's a big responsibility. Now, maybe a player like Lampard, who was a big player himself, has an advantage in that sense, but I would have liked to see him at least give me 3-4 seasons in the in the championship, or like a lower Premier League club, or go to Italy or Spain or Germany and learn a different style of the game than what you've seen in America with MLS and here with England. Like, just learn more. Like, do we know if he's even has all his badges? Like, all of this kind of stuff. I'm sure he does, but
yeah, I mean, look, I mean,
he can be okay, but I don't think he's okay now. I think he's just here because he's Frank Lampard, which it's not enough for me.
Basically, for me, because of the path that Lampard has taken, I'm not sure that he can become a great manager now. He could be, but I feel that he may have been rushed into the deep end with the Chelsea job. As Daniel said, bro, 3 years, 4 years, like Danny T is right, like 3-4 years, Derby County, learn the trade, then come into the Premier League. Pep Guardiola is an anomaly. And even if Pep Guardiola is an anomaly, you had Lionel Messi.
How long did he coach the Barcelona B team, Pep?
Might have been
a season?
A season, I think. A season or two. And then he then brought in Busquets and so forth. But the thing about it is that Pep, he knew he was already in the Barcelona system already. So he would have been seeing Iniesta, Xavi, and seeing all these guys. But Lampard, you've just come... See. If Jody Morris was the manager, that would sort of make a bit more sense than Lampard, because Jody Morris sort of knows the guys more than...
Do you know who would have made more sense? Steve Holland.
Oh yeah, that dude.
So he was like he was an assistant for Mourinho, Conte, all of them. And then he went to be England's number 2 with Southgate. That would have made far more sense to me than Lampard.
Because
and he was rumored at one point, but he's his whole life has been management. So and he knows the players, he knows the youth club, all of it.
So basically, so my thing is like, again, when you say, are we going on hold because of his playing career? That's what a lot of people, it's standard. People, again, it goes back to what we said before. People want the happy end. They want the lovely story tied in a bow. The story is great player, great manager. Wow, let's make it happen. But it's like, that story doesn't always happen. Hence, we've only given you 2 examples: Beckenbauer and Cruyff.
What's the third? Maybe.
Are we going to call Zidane a great manager? Come on.
The Champions Leagues tell me something. I don't know what they tell me, but they tell me something.
I don't know what they tell me, but they don't tell me that he's now on the same level as a manager as Beckenbauer or Cruyff.
I didn't say that.
Do that.
I didn't say that.
Yeah, so no. So we're gonna give you two
Where are Cruyff's Champions Leagues? Multiple. Where are Beckenbauer's Champions Leagues? European Cups. Multiple. Huh? And did they win them 3 in a row? I don't think so.
All right, guys. So look, man, that is all for us. So guys, remember, we're going to be doing this every Thursday.
Was that a question?
Yes,
I was reading I'm sorry. It says, what is the score prediction?
I'm not giving a score prediction. So
do we want to give like a score prediction?
I'm not. You can. I'm not.
I normally just go with like 2-2 draw. If you ask me what's gonna happen, 2-2 draw. So that's what I go with. Sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm right. You know what I do with France? I do the same thing with 2-2 draw now. So if somebody asks me, 2-2 draw. So what's the prediction for Saturday? 2-2 draw.
I have no idea. So yeah, basically I have flipping no idea. Say, look, man.
Yo, do you know what we should do? We should do like we'll give you like our favorite Chelsea game, our favorite Chelsea season, our favorite Chelsea player, our favorite Chelsea this. Like that can be like the warm up. Like how we got into the club.
Also, so at the beginning of each episode.
Yeah, we could find like a nostalgic story.
Favorite Chelsea moments or a player, or just talk about a Chelsea legend or a Chelsea player, and just do it. Yeah, maybe that can be a section. We'll pick like a Chelsea player. It'll be a legend, and just do like a deep dive into that player. You know,
people want to know why you ran off from the football terrace.
To be in time for this, because Terry wasn't receiving my messages. I told him that I've got to go. But then, like, he just kept on running over. So, guys, look, man. So, yeah, we'll be here every Thursday evening. This is the first episode of Complicated Chelsea, you know. And this is where hopefully, that's real crack has.
That's heroin. That's not. Well, I guess crack cocaine.
Yeah, crack cocaine. Hopefully, that's real crack cocaine has given you that skuntariga. That's skuntariga. So, guys,
what the crack is?
Peace out. Stay true. Any final words, Daddy T?
No.
So you wouldn't even say anything about John Terry? Actually, no. Let me just end this. Do you see Mourinho make it 3rd time lucky? 3rd time's a charm. Mourinho coming back a 3rd time, doing a 3rd stint at Chelsea?
No. Not after what he said in the documentary, where he was like, "I won the league and they sacked me." Like,
wait. Remember when he did this to the Chelsea? Or was it this he did to the Chelsea fans, or was it this?
No, it was 3. He won 3.
3.
His number's 3. That's his number.
It's 3.
All right,
guys, man. All right. Peace out. Stay true. Stay real. We'll see you guys next Thursday, man. See you guys next Thursday. Peace.